Good morning, and welcome to English Story Time with Mark. I'm Mark. Today we're going to be reading another story by O. Henry, another short story by O. Henry. This one is called The Green Door. So let's see what it says. Rudolf Steiner was a young man living in New York City. He worked as a piano salesman in a large music store where he spent his days talking to customers about the beauty of music. But outside of work, Rudolf had a passion for adventure. He believed life was full of hidden mysteries, and he was always looking for something unusual, something that would break the routine of everyday life. One evening, after finishing work, Rudolf walked along Broadway. The streets were alive with bright lights, laughter, and the sound of carriages rolling over the cobblestones. This is obviously an old story. People moved in every direction. Businessmen hurrying home, women in elegant dresses heading to the theater, street vendors calling out their latest deals. As he walked, he saw a man standing on the sidewalk, handing out small white cards. Rudolf had seen people like this before. Men advertising restaurants, tailors, or dentists. Without thinking, he took a card from the man and kept walking. A few steps later, he glanced down at the card. It had only 2 words printed on it: the green door. Rudolf stopped in his tracks. He looked back to the man who was still handing out cards to other people. Curious, Rudolf stepped aside and watched. After a few moments, he noticed something strange. The man gave different cards to different people. One man received a card that read, "Best shoe sale in town." Another person got one that read, "Teeth cleaned for 50 cents. But Rudolph's card was different. Why had he, and only he, been given a card with "the green door" written on it? A thrill ran through him. He loved mysteries, and this one seemed made just for him. What was behind the green door? Was it a secret club? A hidden treasure? A romantic adventure? He walked slowly down the street, looking carefully at every building. Most of the doors were painted brown, gray, or black. Nothing unusual. Then, in a quieter part of the street, he saw it. A narrow green door, slightly hidden between 2 shops. His heart beat faster. What was this place? He walked up to the door and hesitated for a moment. Then, gathering his courage, he knocked softly. There was no answer. The street behind him was noisy with life, but here, everything was silent. Rudolf placed his hand on the handle and pushed. The door opened. Inside, a dimly lit hallway stretched before him. A single light bulb flickered overhead. The walls were old, with peeling wallpaper. A wooden staircase led upward. He took a deep breath. He hadn't come this far to turn back now. Step by step, he climbed the stairs. The air smelled slightly of dust and old wood. At the top, he saw another door, this one also green. He raised his hand and knocked again. This time, a soft voice answered, "Come in." Rudolf slowly pushed open the door. The room inside was small and simple. A single window let in a little moonlight. Against one wall, there was a narrow bed. A young woman sat on it. her hands resting in her lap. She was thin and pale, and her large eyes looked tired but gentle. "Oh," she said softly, surprised. "I thought you were the doctor." Rudolph stepped forward, confused but intrigued. "I'm sorry," he said. "I think I may have made a mistake. Are you expecting someone?" The young woman gave him a weak smile. "Yes. I asked the baker downstairs to send the doctor. I'm not feeling well." Rudolph glanced around the room. It was nearly empty. A small table held a single plate with a piece of dry bread on it. There was no other food in sight. Suddenly he understood. This young woman was not only sick, she was also hungry. "Have you eaten today?" he asked. She hesitated, then shook her head. "Only a little this morning." Rudolph felt a deep sense of sympathy. He had come looking for adventure, but instead he had found someone in need. And now he knew exactly what he had to do. "Wait here," he said gently. "I'll be right back." Without another word, he turned and hurried down the stairs out into the street. The city was full of restaurants and bakeries. He quickly found a small cafe where the smell of warm bread and soup filled the air. He ordered a bowl of steaming chicken soup, fresh bread, some fruit, and a cup of hot tea. A few minutes later, he was back at the green door. He climbed the stairs again and knocked. The young woman opened the door, and her eyes widened when she saw what he was carrying. "For me?" she asked, almost in disbelief. "Yes," Rudolph said, smiling. "Please eat." She took the bowl of soup in her hands and sipped it slowly. The warmth seemed to bring color back to her cheeks. She took small bites of the bread, as if she wanted to make it last as long as possible. "Thank you," she said softly. "You are very kind." Rudolph sat down across from her. "What's your name?" "Elsie," she said. "Miss Elsie." They talked as she ate. She told him she had recently moved to the city hoping to find work, but things had not gone as planned. She had fallen ill, and without money, she had been too weak to look for a job. Rudolph listened carefully. He felt both sad and happy. Sad that she had suffered, but happy that fate had led him to her. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the card. The green door. It had brought him here. Not to a mystery, but to a grand adventure. Not to a mystery, not to a grand adventure, but to a person who needed help. Maybe that was the greatest adventure of all. "I will come back tomorrow," he said. Elsie smiled. "I would like that." That night, as Rudolph walked home, he felt lighter than before. The city around him seemed brighter, the people more full of hope. As he reached Broadway, he passed the man handing out cards again. This time Rudolph stopped. "Sir," he asked, holding out the card, "why did you give me this?" The man looked at the card, puzzled. "I didn't," he said. "I just hand out random cards for businesses. You must have picked up the wrong one." Rudolph stared at him for a moment, then laughed softly. Maybe it had been an accident. Maybe it had been fate. Either way, he was glad he had knocked on the green door. So that was The Green Door by O. Henry. I hope you will feel inspired to read more of his stories. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be happy when I see you next time. Bye for now.